Hello, welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute, and yes, I geeked out hard over this video, and it's one of my most requested because I hear from you all the time. My business isn't growing, it's stuck, I'm plateaued, and I just don't know what I'm doing wrong, but you know something isn't quite working. Well, this is what I do all day, every day. I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs over the years, and my own business has really skyrocketed, particularly in the last 5 years. We're now an 8-figure business, and believe you me, that I've been through my fair share of plateaus, challenges, going backwards, and feeling stuck. So I have had to figure out what are the core components of hitting that kind of a plateau or actually going backwards and seeing your business fall into a bit of a slump. And I have identified 5 obvious reasons, and they may seem obvious to me, but I'm hoping by the end of this that they're super obvious to you too, and you can identify how to tweak them and fix them and evolve past that pain point. So what I'm gonna ask for you to do is, if you have a moment where you go, oh my gosh, I think that's what it is, I want you to comment below in the comments and just put light bulb and the timestamp of when you hit that light bulb moment, because that really is what I live for, and it'll help me understand what's most valuable to you. If you don't know, this channel is dedicated to making entrepreneurship available to everyone, so a small thing you can do to help me achieve that mission is to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications every single time I post a new video on Tuesdays. And this is what I do for a living. So I help people who have a skill set or an expertise elevate their impact, income, and authority through online courses and YouTube. So if you're interested in that, I have a whole free masterclass below that you can check out. And if you put masterclass in the comments, we can drop the direct link for you as well. So let's dig into it. Let's dig into these 5 obvious reasons, and let's have those light bulb moments, shall we? Let's do it. All right, before we dig into the nitty-gritty of each of these components of what is keeping your business from growing, I really need to break down exactly what they are and sequentially why it's so important to have them in the right order. So first and foremost, every business on the planet has these 5 fundamental principles. So these are what we call first principles. First principles means essentially that when you learn what these are, you can apply them to any business. This is true of anything in the world. There are first principles of growth and success in anything that anyone has ever done, but oftentimes they get overlooked for the shiny objects and for the latest trends or whatever it might be. But when you know these are dialed in, you will succeed. Period, end of story, and you will continue to grow. So first comes your offer. You have to have something to sell in order to actually be a viable business. So you have to have an offer, and then you have to know who is your ideal client. And you might be sitting there thinking, I already know that, but there's more to it than you might think. We're gonna get into that today. So offer, ideal client, and then messaging, which is essentially marketing. From there, we need to have a lead gen strategy or traffic. And then from there, that turns into sales. So these are the 5 core components. These are the 5 obvious reasons, and I'm gonna get into why some of these might not be working, or what a lot of people do is they skip these parts and they go right to messaging. And if you just go right to messaging without identifying these really clearly, you're gonna be one of those people who goes, why isn't social media working for me? Why isn't anyone buying from me? I know you know that, and I know you've heard that before. And every time I hear that, I go, you have an offer and you have an ideal client issue. And every time these are solved, your messaging lands a lot better. So we're gonna get into that in detail. Now, before we get into these 5 factors, I also want to talk about a really important concept that's gonna apply to every single fix and tweak you can make in your business to grow. So there is a difference between linear and scalable growth, and it's very vitally important to understand this. I wish I learned this a lot earlier. Linear growth relies on input to create an output. For example, the entrepreneur who charges based on 1 hour of time with a client. That's transactional and yields limited results with no option for scaling. Scalable growth allows you to apply first principles, which are fundamental building blocks, which you can apply over and over again to achieve limitless growth with less resources, effort, and time. So first and foremost, let's dig into your offer and what you're ultimately going to sell. So you've probably heard me say this before. If you're new to this channel, I often talk about something called a transformation statement. And a transformation statement is deeply rooted in your own story, and it's what you build your entire business off of. When you have clarity on your transformation statement, you know exactly who you're serving and ultimately what you want to be known for, which makes it very magnetic for your ideal clients to actually find you and want to buy from you. I'm gonna dig into this a little bit deeper in the ideal client section in just a second, because we need to really hone in on 3 factors to make this a viable offer. So in order for your offer to succeed, before we get into the client part of it, it's really important to understand that what I have identified in studying business for a long time and learning from a lot of incredible mentors, there are really 3 factors to creating an offer that people can't wait to invest in and are lining up to invest in. And those 3 factors are necessity, urgency, and transformation. So there has to be a need behind it. There has to be an urgency as to why they would need that thing at that specific time. I'm not talking about a launch or false scarcity or false urgency or anything like that. I'm talking about knowing your ideal client so well that you know exactly where they are on their journey, where they're gonna need to invest in the solution and the transformation that you're providing, because ultimately people don't pay for information, they don't pay for tactics, there's enough of it on the internet for free. They pay for transformation. So if you base your entire offer off of something that's transformative as opposed to just a tactic or a product or something anybody could really find or do on the internet, as long as you focus on the transformation, it's something that people will want. But those 3 factors combined create an offer that is irresistible. In addition to that, the reason that transformation is so important is because it takes your offer from being transactional to being transformational. And there's a big difference. When people think they're just paying for the thing you offer and the tactic that you offer, it becomes very focused on a price point. When people are paying for the value of the outcome you provide with your offer, they're then focused on the value instead of the price. And the price truly does become somewhat irrelevant because there's necessity as to why they need it. There's urgency because it's the perfect timing for them to actually invest in this transformation. And they know that they're getting an overarching outcome and not just a one-time thing that could help them in the moment. And for anybody who has an expertise or a skill set, this takes people from looking at you and paying for your time, which is transactional, to paying for the value of your expertise. And that is a game changer. Now, I want to show you one of the most common pitfalls and problems, and one of the most obvious problems that I've seen when it comes to creating an offer. We specialize in creating online course businesses, so I'm gonna kind of equate it to that, but this also applies to any kind of business. So I wanna share some common pitfalls in a second as to why this happens, but I think a visual might help. So as you know, we just talked about the fundamental principles of any business. You need to have your offer clear, have your ICA, your ideal client clear, your messaging, your leads, and your sales in order to create consistency and scalability. Now, if you have multiple offers, you are then diversifying your attention, time, and resources on all of those factors. Your messaging, your ideal client, your leads, your sales, they all are shooting in different directions. This creates that linear growth we were talking about. You can't really grow up. If you have just one offer and you're constantly using this as the baseline for your business and to grow from, all of your efforts are going into one thing, which creates exponential growth. And I'm gonna explain this further as we go because I know it seems counterintuitive. You think, if I have more offers, I can get more money in the bank. If you have more offers, you also need more to support the sustainability of all of those different offers, as we talked about. So the common pitfalls of why people create all of these different offers and why we only have one are these. They think if they have a less expensive offer, it'll be the answer to their prayers and more people will want to buy it. In reality, that will bring in people who are focused on price, not value, and create more customer service, more fulfillment, more marketing, and more resources to fulfill a program or an offer that creates less profit. Number 2, they think that using multiple offers, they can serve more people. Yes, you can grow in width, but you don't grow in depth. And the core ideal client that you want to serve becomes forgotten. And you're not able to serve them at the same depth because you're spreading yourself thin across multiple ideal clients. Number 3, you haven't broken the hustle cycle mentality. And what this means is that you think if you just keep doing more, you're gonna be more successful, when in reality, the key to success in business is simplicity and focusing on one thing. Number 4, you aren't clear on the outcome you're trying to create with your business or the impact you're creating with your business, and therefore you're just grasping at straws trying to create something for everyone, which again dilutes your authority and your impact. Now, when it comes to your ideal client, this relates very much so back to your offer, and this is why they go in sequential order. And so you have an idea of what you want to create in terms of the impact and the outcome for your clients that come in, but who really are you speaking to? So remember that I said the key to a scalable offer has to come down to necessity, urgency, and transformation. So the easiest way to factor in all of those pieces that we've identified and that has worked magic for our clients in being able to scale all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just using online courses and YouTube organic are these three factors. So when it comes to your ideal client, it's not just picking a demographic. It's not surface level. It's essentially a mirror for your own expertise, experience, and skill set that you've acquired. So first and foremost, one ideal client. And I'm gonna share an example of what this actually looks like in a second. One specific place on their journey and one specific transformation or outcome. Okay, so why this is so important is because if we know particularly who we're looking to attract, where they're at on their journey, where they have the urgency because they know they need this solution, and we know exactly the outcome that they're seeking, we then know how to deliver that for them. Here's a golden rule when it comes to finding ideal clients and why people often find it so difficult to make their social media messaging land and make their marketing land and to convert people into paying clients is because if you don't know who they are, including all these three factors, you can't find them. If you don't know who your client is inside and out, you will never find them. Okay? And this is gonna come up when we talk about messaging in a second and why it's often so overcomplicated when it's really quite simple and requires minimal effort. And something to really consider and a huge, obvious, glaring issue for so many businesses, but particularly in the online space when you can build a personal brand, you cannot rely solely on a warm audience. Relying solely on a warm audience, which means an audience who already knows, likes, and trusts you because maybe you've created content over the years or you have a YouTube channel or whatever it may be, you have to know how to attract these people with these three factors combined into one through a means where you can actually discover them in a way where they don't know you yet and they still want to buy from you. Because if people know, like, and trust you, they're gonna buy essentially whatever you're selling because you've built that sense of trust. But if people don't know you and they buy into whatever it is that you're offering, that is the true test of a real sustainable and scalable business. So the false idea that your business is successful just because your warm audience is buying is a very dangerous and obvious reason why you may not be able to grow. So what we really focus on is building a cold audience in the beginning of 50 people who are your ideal clients so we can convert those people and you're equipped with the skill set to never run out of clients, even if your warm audience runs out. Now, I wanted to share what this looks like in real time and how it fits into an actual transformation statement, which is the baseline of your entire business. So let me dig into it. This is an example from one of my clients in our Authority Accelerator program. He shared his personal story and experience, and we identified these as his three factors of his ideal client. One specific ideal client, ambitious, young, professional men in a corporate job. One specific place on their journey, the high-pressure, ultra-competitive daily work environment attaching their personal value to peer and boss validation and external factors of performance and position has led to debilitating anxiety that is keeping them stuck, in pain, and frustrated. One specific transformation or outcome, facing and overcoming their fears and anxiety, successfully detaching their value and identity from their career to be able to experience personal freedom and confidence while achieving their goals and flourishing in their unique gifts. Now, when I first started working with this person, his original transformation statement was, I help people overcome fear and anxiety. That, unfortunately, while well-intended, is gonna make him blend in with everybody else. When we dug deep on his own personal story, it's a mirror for those three factors. So your three factors lie in you. They are a mirror for you and who you are, where you were at your biggest tipping point to make a change and create transformation, and the outcome that you were able to achieve. So now his transformation statement sounds like this. I help ambitious young professional men who work in high-pressure, ultra-competitive corporate jobs go from experiencing debilitating anxiety that is keeping them stuck, in pain, and frustrated because they're attaching their personal value to peer and boss validation to facing and overcoming their fears and anxiety, successfully detaching their value and identity from their career so that they can experience personal freedom and confidence while achieving their goals and flourishing in their unique gifts. And that right there is what takes you from sounding like everybody else to creating a business that is personal and aligned with exactly who you are, how you want to show up, and the impact you want to create, which leads us into the next step, which is messaging. So we now have our offer clarified, we know who our ideal client is, and most importantly, we actually know the 2 key factors to succeeding on any algorithm to reach our ideal clients and create more leads and sales for our business, which are: who exactly are you serving, and what exactly do you want to be known for? When you have these 2 factors, it makes your messaging much more clear, and therefore it makes it much more magnetic to the right people. There's something that you need to really understand when it comes to messaging, and one of the biggest problems facing the online industry right now, which is the false scarcity of diversification. I'm sure you've heard people saying you have to be on every platform, and that's just not true. Scarcity marketing leads you to believe that you need to be on every single platform, and you need to be very consistent on all of those platforms and constantly creating content. But the reality of that is it's often rooted in not knowing who you actually need to reach. And so you end up diversifying your time, energy, and resources and working way harder than you need to, and only growing in width and horizontally, so you have no growth upwards because all you're focused on is trying to reach this mass audience that you don't even know is going to convert because you aren't even sure on who you're trying to convert. So this leads to horizontal growth, staying stuck in your business, and completely plateauing. And whenever you feel the need to just grow your audience, it's a massive sign that you just don't know who is actually your ideal client, because when you know that, you know you don't need a huge audience to create a multi-million-dollar business. So that's scarcity marketing. Scarcity marketing tells you there's never enough and you constantly have to reach more and more and more people. But it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel and hoping that if you just scream louder and go on every platform, eventually someone will stick and you'll get a client. That's just not how it works, and oftentimes that leads to getting the wrong clients in the door. Whereas scalable marketing allows you to do less and achieve way more because you're focused on your core platform. And that platform is what's allowing you to reach the right people and grow significantly on one platform, as opposed to trying to diversify your efforts and energy and learning all these new platforms and only growing horizontally. So scalable marketing allows you to grow vertically. And when you know those 2 factors of exactly who you're trying to reach and what you want to be known for, which we just laid out in the transformation statement and in those 3 factors we covered in terms of your ideal client, you can then create messaging on any platform that's going to actually convert without having a big audience. I truthfully could do a whole other video on scarcity marketing versus scalable marketing, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in the comments below. But just to kind of simplify this and share how our business is structured, so we focus on scalable marketing, and if you look at our offer, our lead gen, and our sales, it's very simple. We have one program, which is the Authority Accelerator. We have lead gen that comes through a VSL/webinar. And from there, we have 2 real core traffic sources: YouTube Organic, and then YouTube Organic also builds our email list. I'm not even sure if you can read this, but good luck. Hopefully that makes sense. So our email list and YouTube are the only 2 platforms we truly do focus on. And then we also use some minimal Facebook advertising because we're at a place where we've built so much capital we can reinvest into reaching more people, and we know our offer, we know our ideal client. So in terms of messaging, our ads actually convert because we know those factors. But spending money on ads when you don't know those 2 factors is like throwing money into a fire. We call it a dumpster fire. So there you go. And then in terms of sales, it's very simple. We drive traffic to our conversion site, which is an application to book a call and speak to our enrollment team to see if you're the perfect fit for our program. So book a call. call. And you don't even necessarily need a VSL or a webinar to convert people. You can always just send your traffic directly to book a call. That reduces friction and increases your quantity of getting leads in the door. And when you're first starting out, you don't need to add in a layer of friction, because that's only going to delay the sales cycle and getting clients in the door and actually creating the impact and client results that you need to truly prove that your business is viable and to be able to grow from. Now let's talk about leads. So leads / traffic. So this is getting people in contact with your offer and making them a potential client for the offer. So in terms of leads, you got to know your necessary numbers. And I did a whole breakdown on this in another video, which you can check out right here. So it's up here, it's in the description below as well, on how to grow a business from zero. But let me do a little quick recap on this. So many people think you need a 1 million person audience in order to build a business, and it's just not true. You can build a very successful business by having the right audience in place. So if you look at your necessary numbers, so let's say you want to get 4 clients in the door per month and your price point is $2,500. So that would bring you to 10K months. Now, based on a 20% conversion rate, which is industry standard, and essentially means how many of the leads you're bringing in are you converting into paying clients. So on average, you'll convert about 20% of the leads into paying clients. Of course, this can go way, way, way up, or it can go way, way, way down, but that's the average. So you want to then multiply the amount of clients you want by 5, and that gives you a 20% conversion rate and tells you how many leads you need. So if you multiply 4 by 5, that means you need to have 20 conversations and generate 20 leads per month to generate 4 sales. And at $2,500 with 4 sales, that brings you to a 10K month. Not 25,000, just 20 leads a month. So however many clients you want in the door on a monthly basis, and whatever your income goal is, you want to times the amount of clients that you want by 5, because that's a standard conversion rate, which is 20%, and that will tell you how many leads you actually need. So not 25,000, not 25 million, 25 real human beings. If you can't find 25 real human beings who match your ideal client description on the World Wide Web, we got a problem. And like I said, in order to generate leads, we do very little. It's very simple, and we use our core platforms because those are the platforms that we've nurtured and we've been able to grow, because I don't diversify my attention across platforms. Now, having said that, you may have another platform that you use as your core platform. That's great. But the reality of diversification, it's such a buzzword, is that as long as you have a core platform, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, and an email list that you are using to capture the people you're speaking to on social media, that's all the diversification you need, because you own your email list, okay? So your email list is never going to go away. And as long as you have that email list, you can grow any other platform you want. You send an email to your list and you say, hey, I'm on a new platform. Those people are then gonna follow you everywhere else, okay? But you just need to. So our content strategy, which I've talked about in another video as well, about my profitable content strategy, our most profitable content strategy, looks like this. We do an email that's more personally driven. We do YouTube plus email on Tuesdays. So that's an email about the YouTube video and driving to the YouTube video. And then we do another email on Wednesdays about results from our program and testimonials and social proof to inspire people. And then we may send one more on Thursday or Friday. That's my content strategy. Now let's talk about sales. So the 5th obvious reason why your business isn't growing. I'm not sure why sales often gets missed, but I think it's because we get caught up in so many things that don't really matter, like growing a social media audience, when a business really does rely on clients, client results, and sales first and foremost, which doesn't require having a bunch of vanity metrics that are essentially monopoly money. So if we look at sales, and if we look at what really matters to achieving sales, it's a lot of what we've just covered. So you need to have ideal client clear. If you know where to find them, you know how to convert them. If you don't know who they are, you don't know where to find them. Okay, remember that and take that away from this video, please. Ideal client, clear messaging that relates to your ideal client so that they understand that you actually will work with them and support them. You're not here to serve everybody, but you're here to serve them. A conversion site, whatever that may be. Maybe they're buying over the phone. Maybe they're buying via a link, whatever it may be. You gotta have somewhere to convert them, or else they're not gonna know what to do or how to work with you, which then reduces the amount of impact you can have. That equals consistency in your sales. you're missing any of these factors, you're just not gonna have consistent sales, and you're gonna get caught in that cycle of thinking you need to create more content and reach more people, and the false scarcity of diversification, and working yourself into the ground without actually bringing in sales. So you feel like you're doing it all for nothing. And when it comes to sales, pricing is so vitally important, because so often we price our programs or our offers or our products really low because we don't really believe in the value of the outcome we're creating. But if you've done the work properly in terms of your offer, and you know the transformation you're providing, and you know your ideal client inside and out, you know the value. And when you are clear on the value, like I said earlier, the price becomes truly irrelevant, because if you're providing value that is going to save people time, money, energy, mental stress, they are going to invest. Okay, you don't need everybody in the world to invest, but if you have an adequate value-driven price point, which is what we focus on, then you're gonna get the right clients in the door who are gonna do the work. In addition, when you price adequately and you're not pricing low, you need less clients, less leads, less marketing to yield high profit, high results, highly invested clients who are actually going to do the work and get the result, creating more social proof to grow your business even further and faster. Pricing your business low creates more chaos, more clients to serve, more headache as the business owner because you don't have enough profits to actually grow from there, and create support for yourself, and it keeps you stuck. Does that make sense? So a little surprise here is that yes, we have the 5 factors we've just gone over in order. I think it should make sense and should be obvious as to what isn't quite working. And comment below, like I said, with a light bulb of when it sort of went off for you. But there are actually 7. There are 7 core fundamental principles and building blocks in your business. But if you don't have these 5 consistent and sorted, you don't need a team and you don't really need ops, because you don't have a team that's gonna then take over for you and create the support for you and knows how to leverage the operations in the business. So getting these 5 factors dialed in allows you to really become the CEO of your business, not the founder, not the hustler, not the early entrepreneur, but the established and elevated entrepreneur who actually can lead, create space, build a team, and have solid operations underneath them so that their business can create an impact and an income without relying on them. That is how you're able to truly create scale and to continue to grow for the rest of time. It's all of these factors combined. But without these first 5, your team and your ops are a non-issue. So once you dial these in, you're set to grow. And essentially, if you do your team and your ops factors too early, then you're actually creating even more of this linear growth where you can't actually grow. You're just like growing wide and in chaos because you have more people to manage and you don't really know what they should be doing, and you don't have clarity on who you're serving, so nor do they. So then they're just doing busy work that creates more complication in the business. And then you're building operations on a business that isn't actually optimized for growth because we don't have those 5 factors. So let me know if that makes sense. Like I said, I put a lot of love and time and effort into this video because I hope that it serves a light bulb for you in how you can grow past where you are right now. And that doesn't even mean monetary growth. Of course, that's lovely, but also just being able to elevate yourself out of your business and know that it can run without having to rely on you. And that is the true test of a business. If your business relies on you to run, you don't have a business, you have a job. Are you with me? I have a whole playlist on more stuff just like this. I hope you check that out and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every single time I post a new video on Tuesdays. Like I said in the beginning, this entire channel is dedicated to making entrepreneurship available to everyone because I know that entrepreneurship is the best vehicle to equity and creating freedom for yourself and the impact that you're meant to make in the world. So small thing you can do to support our mission is to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified every single time I post a new video, and drop a comment with your biggest takeaway from today. I also have a whole playlist on very similar topics to this that are going to really help and support you in how to grow from zero. So check that out right here. And I can't wait to see you in the next one.